I'm going to give the spiel of what the piece is about. Okay?
What's the art about?
Because Lisa and my parents have heard it 10 times. And Rick's heard it 20 times. Becky missed it? Okay. All right. Well, dang it. All right. So, all right. I'll give you the spiel. Okay? All right. Everybody's supposed to cheer when I say that.
Yay!
All right. Welcome to the final installment of the Circle of Land and Sky. So we are standing in a 165-foot diameter circle that is made up of 300 reflectors
And one drone.
and one drone. And all of these reflectors are tilted outward at 10 degrees so that as you're walking towards the piece, all that is reflected is the land, and when you're in the center of the piece, all that's reflected is the sky. What is the piece about? The piece is about the beauty of the desert. It's about opening your eyes to all of this color that's happening right now, this amazing gradient. If you were out here when the sun was still up, you saw the amazing line drawing of line and shadow and reflection that stretches out from every single one of the reflectors, a blade of shadow and 2 blades of reflection that are shifting over the course of the day. All of the tops of the poles are totally level, but the ground is not. A sense that the piece maybe has always been here. Another question I get asked a lot is, how come the boardwalk stops where it does? Why doesn't it go all the way? Well, the boardwalk gets you halfway there. It's exactly halfway to the center of the circle. The intention of that is 2 things. One, for it to be welcoming, for you to be inspired to get out there. There's nothing stopping you. But also that when you step off of the stand for the first time, it's a conscious experience. We don't just park our car and sort of willy-nilly start walking across the desert. We all take the same path to get here. When we step on that sand, we realize we're leaving the man-made that's behind us and stepping out into nature. That's why I love this site, right? It's close enough that we're all here easily, but also when we get here, we feel like we're far enough away. There's this amazing 270-degree view of just the pure desert. The little San Bernardinos beyond, out to the Chocolate Mountains and the Santa Rosas and San Jacinto, San Gorgonio. We're in this whole bowl. That was really the whole idea. We're in this bowl of the desert, and I really wanted to create a space, a sense of shelter, a feeling like we're in an intimate space within the middle of the desert, but we're also within a space that accommodates the scale of the desert. I'll go through a few technical questions because I know people always ask. What is it? What's it made out of? Is it glass? Is it mirror? No, it is mirror polished stainless steel. It's actually bent, pre-polished, 18 gauge mirror polished steel. 2 profiles that get assembled into a tube so that it's structural. You get a clean reflection, but it's also lightweight because John has to haul all this stuff out here. And I didn't want him to get bogged down because he's got a bad back, and I want to trying to heal it. So, and how are they all supported? So they're underneath every single one of these poles. All of them are 10 feet. There is a 3-foot-long steel tube that's attached to a steel plate that gets hammered into the ground at 10 degrees. How did we get it so precise? There is a tool that you don't see. That is a 27-foot-long jig designed in 3 sections that would allow us to install 15 poles at a time. And that jig would set the placement and the angle. We'd hammer those guys in, bring in the tube with the plate, and bolt it and level it just right. We'd push those jigs out and move down the line until we got to 300. What else? Because the tops are all level, I'm sorry to my installation team, it meant that we had to dig down over here 2.5 feet to get down to level, because while the tops are level, the ground is not. So we had to do a lot of digging to get down to where we could even start hammering those poles into the ground. What else? Any last questions? Last moments?
Volunteers to undo.
I've got a team. We're good.
Where is it going next?
Where is it going next? We're not sure where it's going next, but with that said, we are talking to a couple people about potential permanent installations outside of the desert. Really my goal with really the studio in general is to be challenged with new sites, to be challenged with creating site-specific works that create parameters that I would never think about in the studio. We're talking to somebody where it's a potential kind of forest coastal site, right? Well, that's something I would never think about being in the desert. So what will the composition of that piece be there? It was very different if you saw it out on Laguna, right? It was a 1/4 mile long arc, spaced 4.5 feet apart. Out here it's a circle, spaced 21.5 inches apart, angled at 10 degrees. We'll see what happens next. At the same time, there is the potential for a very large project. I've been given 3 sites way out in the Mojave Desert, out in the Mojave Preserve and the Mojave Trails National Monument, to do some kind of large-scale art installation on. And we would do all 3 of these pieces potentially at the same time, and it would be a very different experience. In a way, this Desert X was your training. This is Desert Light. Okay? Going out there, you gotta bring water, you gotta have food, you got the right clothing, you gotta know where you're going, you gotta have gas, you gotta be prepared. So if you're willing, the next installation may be a little more grit, a little more like adventure.
We'll get a Cardiff bus.
Gary and Sharon will bring a Cardiff bus. Perfect, yes. Exactly. There'll be a bathroom nearby and air conditioning as well. Yes, Kevin.
So how do you feel about the great public response to your work?
Thank you. So what I would say, first of all, is just thank you to all of you guys being here. And as they're saying, the 100,000 people that came out for Desert X. I mean, that's beyond, I think, anybody's expectations. Certainly mine. I'm glad that my little plywood boardwalk held up. You might, some of those steps are a little springy. It all comes out tomorrow though. So, but I think that, you know, for me as an artist that lives here in the desert, Desert X has been huge. It's amazing. The world is talking about the Coachella Valley. I mean, I think that is phenomenal. For people that are in the creative world, in the hospitality world, whatever it is your business is, the world is looking at the Coachella Valley as a laboratory for creative thought, which I think is fantastic. So, yeah. How did I thank you. How did I pick this spot? Who owns it? What happened there? It is owned by the city of Palm Desert. Don't be sad, but over the course of Desert X, I have heard that this property has been sold to a developer. It will be developed. It's in the path of development, as we all know if you live here. It was honestly my 5th choice. I was trying to find sites way out by the Coachella Valley Preserve, pushed up close to preserve land, but it was all surrounded by land owned by conservation groups or Fish and Game, and they were never going to give us permission. In my former life, I was an architect and did a lot of projects in the city of Palm Desert. This was like 10, 15 years ago. And at that time, all of the underlings, I became friends with all the underlings. Well, they all run the city now. And so when I came in to talk to them about this site, they're like, Phil, hello, yes, sure. And they were already working with Desert X, so it was like 2 weeks later, we had a temporary use permit, and we were able to start working on the site. So it was very quick. So thank you to the city of Palm Desert, if anybody's here from the city, for the use of the site. It's been awesome. Yeah.
I think it would make a brilliant wall for Mexico.
Wall for Mexico. just porous enough. I don't think it matches all of the criteria. The 30-foot high, I think, is what it is. But yeah, indeed. But no, I want to say thank you also to Royale Projects. Edwin, raise your hand. Rick, where are you? The gallery that I have worked with for a very long time, for being out here. We've done a lot of different tours out here with museum groups, with studio visits. I have met with curators from major museums. I have met with collectors that have traveled from Colombia and left their walkers at the end of the boardwalk to come out to be here. I have met with the electrician and his family that he just continually brings his kids out, and the kids are tired of coming out. It's like, Dad, we've been out here 10 times, like, please. But so it's everybody in between. And that's been the amazing part of Desert X, to be able to talk about art, talk about the desert, and the hope is that when all of this is gone, that we all remember this as an amazing moment where we were all united here through Desert X, through this piece, but also united through the fact that we were able to experience art in a way that we never had before. And that's the power of Desert X, and it's coming back 2 years from now in 2019. So support it then. All right?
Yay!